Hello, hello. How is everybody? Woo, good. Well, I'm Eryn. I'm honored to be here. I don't know if this makes me cool or less cool, but I actually have never been to Chicago up until this week. I know, right? I'm totally missing out because your streets are so clean and there's so much inspiration around here. I'm behind, y'all. So my name's Eryn. Like I said, I grew up in a very small town. I'm actually from Atlanta, Georgia. Before that, I actually grew up in a place called Clarksville. My parents manufactured furniture for over 30 plus years. And so I constantly smelled like sawdust and furniture blankets. I would go with my dad when he would deliver furniture. And I would sit in the back of the truck with all the furniture and just watch movies and watch him hustle. I'm sure none of y'all can relate to over-promising and trying really hard to keep your promise. I watched my dad do that with furniture. He'd say yes to so many furniture deals that he had a hard time, keeping them. So I'd stay at the factory with him and do that. But right now, I live in Atlanta, Georgia with my best friend. His name's Jared. We got married 9 years ago, been together for 13 years. We met on MySpace. If y'all have ever heard of that. So this is actually one of my favorite pictures. We were traveling across the Southeast with the company that I founded with him, but he owns a co-working space called Brother Moto. It's a co-working space for motorcyclists to come and work on their bikes. If I ever thought 9 years ago, someone told me, hey, you're gonna own a co-working space for motorcycles. You're also gonna own a company that promotes self-worth and self-love. I'd say that is insane. No couple should ever own small businesses together. But somehow we're able to pay our bills and buy our groceries. We have a little girl. Her name is Sprocket. She's 3 years old. And that's her. She's a French bulldog. I call her my pig bunny. And so we fell in love with our dog so much that we actually got tattoos of her one Saturday, which was, I probably will regret, maybe, I don't know. But right now, I still love her, so. But why I'm here, I think. I started a lifestyle company called So Worth Loving. The premise is that we are advocates for self-care, self-worth, and self-love, and we do that through apparel, we do that through conversation, and we do that through storytelling. But before I dig into this, I do want to tell you a quick story. When I was in 5th grade, I had a bit of an attitude. I was probably 2 inches shorter than I currently am in 5th grade. My parents tell me, Eryn, we have something to tell you. And it was like the worst news a 5th grader in school could probably ever hear. And they do the whole negative compliment thing that we do. And they're like, sweetie, you're bright. This doesn't define you. You're smart. But you're going to have to repeat 5th grade. And so I think they were waiting for me to be like devastated and like, I'm a setback for years. Now I have to have one more year before I graduate. And instead I was like, this is the best news I've ever received. Like seriously, this means that I may have a chance to be maybe average size in my class. All of the kids are gonna wanna know the answers to tests because I've already taken them. They're going to want me to help them with their homework. It all went back to how I could help the kids in my class at 5th grade. And that actually did not pan out the way that it did. But 5th grade, Eryn, before I even realized it, before I had an opportunity to be jaded by circumstances that life threw at me, like my cup was half full mentality at 5th grade. And I quickly learned that when we see our circumstances being half full instead of half empty, it makes us less terrified to face them. That is what I feel like I learned, is that it was kind of like, this is awesome, regardless of if I actually thought that it was going to be a great circumstance. I thought that it was going to be great, but it actually wasn't. So I was diagnosed with ADD, which I feel like most kids are when you're in 5th grade, and they stick you in a room for 3 days, and they make you hit the space bar every time you hear a bird chirp. It was like the craziest thing. And I actually had tutors upon tutors. Y'all, I took tests on doing headstands. I was taking tests on the floor. They're like, maybe she just needs a different environment. But I was like Dory off of Finding Nemo, where she absorbs information and then quickly loses it. School was just something I was never really great at. But I just kept trying and kept trying, and I kept hitting a brick wall. So at that young age, at 10th grade rolls around and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to decide that I'm not going to be great at school. I've given this 6 hard years of trying, and you know what? I'm just going to embrace the fact that I'm not going to be an A+ student. So I'm going to try to figure out what it is that I love, what it is that I'm good at, because I've been told for 6 years that I'm not good at this thing that I keep trying at. And I'm sure some of us can resonate with that. We keep trying at something that we want to be good at, and we just keep hitting that wall. I decided, you know what? What I'm good at? I'm good at talking to people. I mean, that's easy, right? I'm good at talking to people. I'm good at having conversations. I love people. I love getting to know why we do the things that we do. I love to understand why we're wired the way that we're wired. So I went to an all-girls school. It was a boarding school. I was a day student, but I started giving tours for girls that, their parents were like, I don't know what to do with you. Let's put you here. And so I got to just love the heck out of them, get to know them, understand where they're coming from, maybe some hardship that they've gone through. And I started channeling my energy towards the things that I really liked and that made me thrive. And so I learned, what is the one thing that's getting in the way of you doing what you are really good at? For me, mine was something that I was terrible at, and I kept trying for 6 years, and I still wasn't good at it. I didn't even break even, But the one thing that I was really good at was talking to people, getting to know them. Is anybody editor of the yearbook in their class at all? One person out of this whole room? Yeah, you're my person. So I was editor of the yearbook, and I was president of the student body with D's and F's. But they were like, Eryn's not good at school, but she's great at talking to people, so let's just keep putting her in that silo. So, I graduate high school, I don't go to college, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm optimistic, and so I start working for my parents' manufacturing facility, and they had multiple retail stores, so I was working in their retail areas and learning to talk with customers and just getting to know the people in the neighborhood and things like that. And so I started getting an itch. So I went to this organization, it's this multi-million-dollar organization. I go there, and I'm like, hey, I don't know what I'm great at, but I know I'm good at talking. So whatever it is that you can put me in, I'll do. If it's cleaning the toilets, if it's taking out the trash, if it's doing the grunt work, give it to me, I'll do it. And I'll do it with a smile, and I want to learn. The biggest thing that I loved about this organization was that it was sound leadership, and it was a good culture for staff. And I didn't know why I was so thirsty for that, but I was, and I wanted to be there and just absorb it and give back if I could. And so they started trusting me. So they gave me data cards to enter into spreadsheets, which no one should ever trust me with. And they started trusting me a little bit more. So then they started putting me at these big events where I talked to thousands of people about a product that I'm probably not old enough to understand, but I'm 22 and driven. And I'm like, let me tell you why. They start just trusting me more and more and more. And then they start, okay, she has a knack for design. Maybe we'll start trusting her there. So they started trusting me with art direction and overseeing some print projects. And so by the end of it all, I oversaw the marketing for all print, web, and production. Let me just tell you a side note, really funny story. My supervisor, who challenges me a lot, who's kind of hard on me, but because he knew I was capable, and he was like, Eryn, I want you to oversee, we have this print job that we need to do, and it's due in 4 days, so it's a rushed project. I need to make sure that the proof is read right on these brochures. It's about a $45,000 job. I'm like, yeah, got this, absolutely, totally. And so I do it, take it on, he calls me into his office, they all get printed, all $45,000 of them, and I walk in, and he's like, hey, was this the printer's fault, or did we not read the proof right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I read the proof right. I don't even think I knew how to read a proof. And so I'm like, let me check. That nervousness, So you go to your computer and you're like, surely they just totally misprinted all of these. And I'm like, oh, shoot, they did not. I go back to him, I'm like, Kevin, I read the proof wrong. And he goes, okay. Do you know how to read a proof now? I like died inside. And I was like, yes. And he was like, good. And that was it. That was it. Like, I mean, I was sweating. Like, has anybody ever like gone in a meeting where you've totally screwed up and you're like, oh my gosh. I learned quickly that to embrace your failures, you'll apply them later. Kevin had no clue that in that moment, he taught me how to lead a staff. There are moments where my staff majorly has screwed up. I've screwed up. And I love the response and the grace of like, all right, well, do you know how to read a proof now? Yes. So it's just, that moment gave me so much grace for my team that he didn't even know it. And so if you are leading a team, or if you are a part of a team, or if you are leading a company, or you are part of a company, those little mini failures, those things that make you twitch, the things that are stressful, you can learn from them and you can reapply them. And little do you know, the people that you are leading are the people that could potentially be leading something one day. And I loved that Kevin was like, you're capable of something so much more. You are. I'm gonna keep pushing into you. I was in that organization for about almost 5 years. In the midst of that, I was also doing music. So this was kind of a love of mine. The owner of the organization asked me on my 5th week there, he said to me, Eryn, what are your aspirations? What are your dreams? I thought that was a trick question. So I was like, this is my dream. I had no clue. I'm like, I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't know what my dream is. No one's ever asked me that. And so he's like, no, but really, he was so frustrated. He's just like, please, can you just be honest? What is your dream? I'm like, I don't know, this, people, I don't know. And so that question kind of just throughout the years of working there, it just kind of kept coming up. What is my dream? What do I want to be known for? What do I want to do? What do I want to create? What do I want to be a part of? Is it this? I loved my job. I loved the people. I had a great salary. I had great benefits. I was thriving, what I thought I was. And so I had done music since I was 15. And so I thought maybe music, I've always wanted my voice to be for something good. Maybe I pursue music. So I started doing cover songs and things like that. And when I was doing cover songs, I actually went to a producer and I said to him, I want to produce the best cover song EP ever. And he was like, okay, why don't you want to do your own stuff? I'm like, well, because people can already decide if they like my music or not, because hello, someone else wrote it, so I don't have to take the blame if somebody else wrote it and they don't like it. That's a strategic. And he's like, I think that you should write some music. And I'm like, I don't think so. Well, so I did. So I started writing music. And I remember my first time in the recording studio, I was just such a noob, and I'm sitting there with this amazing songwriter, and they can create melodies like no other, and I'm so new to melodies. I sing other people's melodies. And so I'm sitting there oh yeah, I totally hear that too. I don't, but I'm just trying to be a part of this moment that's happening, I guess. And so I start writing music, and I realize that this is something that I absolutely love. So maybe this is something I'll pursue. So while I was an art director by day, I was a musician by night, and I was writing songs for commercials and television shows and licensing my music to artists. And so I started playing shows and things like that, and it was really fun. We jumped up and down and sang, and it was so fun. It was exhilarating. I said yes to concerts and openers that I had no clue how I was going to do. I didn't have a practicing band. I just hired a bunch of incredible musicians that were able to come behind my voice and support it. I had a music video that went viral. Please do not look it up. It's so embarrassing. I've tempted to delete it, but then I'm that's history. So I don't know. I'm very conflicted still. This happened 9 months before I quit my job. And I thought, wow, people want to share something that we are creating. That, I'm so honored. Wow. I want to just love the heck out of the people that I have no clue on the other side of the screen. I want to love them so much because I'm honored that the fact that they would want to share this, that they would see this music as something that was inspiring for them in their life. So I decided to do what any normal person would do that's super safe. And I would put my home address on the internet. And I said, mail me your personal t-shirt. and I will spray paint it that you are worth loving, and I'll mail it back to you for free. So I thought that I had maybe like 5 readers on my blog. And I was like, 5 people, I'm gonna get 5 shirts, and I'm still working at this job, so I would receive like t-shirts at night. I'd come home, park the car, we lived in a townhome, I'd just go to the little mailbox and open it up, I'm like, oh, 2 new shirts, it's awesome. And then all of a sudden it caught on fire. More and more people wanted to be told that they were worthy of love because someone told them that they weren't, or no one ever told them that they were. And I thought, this is a problem. Like, I felt like I was living in a bubble. People struggle with self-worth. People struggle with loving themselves, viewing themselves that they were worth loving. And so this is what my first shirts looked like. It was literally cardboard stencils from Hobby Lobby. I duct taped them, and I got fabric spray paint, and literally every single shirt I'd have to redo the cardboard because it'd get like so soaked in paint that I'd have to redo it. It was such a process, and it was not sustainable, but I didn't really care. All I cared about was loving the heck out of the people that wanted to mail me their shirt. I mean, has anybody ever mailed something? It's like the most inconvenient thing ever. It's so annoying. Like, now I have to love mailing things, but like, that took a lot of footwork for you to like pack up your shirt. Some people would buy new shirts, and they would mail me their brand new shirt, and I'm thinking, what if I screw this up? I remember one girl's shirt that I did, it was a vintage t-shirt, and I screwed it up, and I was just like, it's supposed to look that way, it's like, it's a new process, we're trying. Like, I was just like, I messed it up. And so I learned quickly, 1, this isn't sustainable, but 2, it's needed. And so I learned that it's common to feel unworthy of love, but uncommon to talk about it. So many people were emailing me their stories, and then mailing me their stories when they sent a shirt in. And they were saying, I've been in a verbally abusive relationship all my life. And I've normalized it until I started surrounding myself with people that were actually safe and good. That's when I realized that I was experiencing that. Or I experienced depression. I wake up every morning and it's so hard to get out of bed. Or my mom or my dad were abusive physically, emotionally, or I've dealt with an eating disorder and I've hid it for so long, or I've struggled with self-harm, or I watched my mom pick at her body in the mirror and I thought that's how I should treat myself. I mean, stories upon stories upon stories, and it was heavy and it was consuming because I think all of a sudden I started thinking, oh my gosh, I have to help everybody in the whole world, and I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I need to do it. And then I realized, wow, the power of story. If we all shared our story, if we all talked about it, because no one talks about it, maybe, just maybe, we would feel a little less crazy. Maybe we could get out of bed. Maybe we could say no to that relationship. Maybe we could say yes to this relationship. Maybe we could be just content, just being us, and figuring out what us is. And so I decided to share people's stories on my blog. I put their story up, I shared it, and then I watched a community transform. I watched people connect with each other. Instead of me trying to be the hero, I let other individuals encounter each other and have the Me Too moment. I'm sure that you've experienced, if there's something you've been going through and you talk to somebody else that's experienced it too, just the fact that someone says, oh girl, or dude, me too. Me too. I've gone through that. Yeah, that was me last fall. That is the most healing thing because you feel less crazy. And so now we're this cool community of people that carry this message that you are worth loving, no matter your past mistakes, the history that you came from, no matter your relationship status, no matter the job that you are in, that you are valuable and that you are worth loving. And it started with just t-shirts. It started with me spray painting shirts. And so now we have a brick and mortar and we sell to about 50 states, over 30 countries. We're 5 years old. So I quit my job and I thought, this is gonna be the best ever. You jump into your dream and then your dream gets slow. So then you're consumed with doubt. What did I do? Why am I doing this? I'm crazy. My job was paying great, and now I just really saw that pay cut. All of a sudden, the self-doubt and the fear starts to creep in. But then you're reminded of the community of the people that are just super passionate about the belief in your why. And so that's what we do. We create apparel, and then we use people's stories on our blog to connect with other individuals. We go into retirement communities and we listen to people that have had years and years and years and years of life to tell us their struggles and their pains. We've traveled across the Southeast in a Sprinter van, going into coffee shops and boutiques and doing pop-ups, and just literally someone will ask me, they'll say, well, what's your curriculum? Like, what's the sustainable model that you're doing? And it's so funny because it's like, well, it's conversation. It's what we're all wired to do. We just collect people in one place to do it. You know, we sustain ourselves through product, and we sustain ourselves through other initiatives. Our heartbeat, and the thing that keeps me up at night, and the thing that wakes me up in the morning, is connecting with individuals and other individuals connecting with themselves. I learned through this community that the more vulnerable you are with the right people, the more you'll grow. I watched people, the more vulnerable that they would allow themselves to be with safe people, the more they grew, and the more they transformed into who they wanted to be and where they wanted to thrive. It was so cool, you know, conversations at coffee shops. It's been so fulfilling. But I'll tell you that I did not set out to start a business at all. Like, I mean, I told you, I didn't go to college. The only business background that I had was my parents manufacturing furniture. My grandma manufactured furniture, so that was about it. So there were a lot of hurdles. I mean, the stress with P&L statements and bank statements and hiring and firing. I mean, talk about firing. You promote self-worth. It's really hard to fire people. It's like really hard. This is right? Like this is just what I need to do. I'm enabling somebody. Like, I had to give myself a pep talk when I've had to do that. But you know, it's easy even in the things that you love to get lost. I started to get lost in all the things I don't know and all the things that I'm not good at. If you are in your dream job, or if you are wanting to pursue your dream job, you will get still lost in it. You will. I learned that I just had to trust people, surround myself with the right individuals, seek mentors that would be willing to pour into me. One of my mentors and business partner, Andy Levine, he will say, you have to surround yourself with promise keepers, because you will be a promise maker more than you can keep your promise. I loved that. But so I want to challenge you to not allow the day in and day out of work get in the way of that thing that makes you thrive. What is the thing that is stressing you out at night? What is that thing that's stressing you out when you go to bed and waking you up at 4 a.m? The anxiety-induced fear that you have, what is getting in the way for you to thrive, for you to be excited to wake up? That's not keeping you in your bed, but making you jump out sooner. What is that? That thing that makes you thrive is the thing that will impact many if you let it. So what is that thing? Mine, it was promoting self-worth and self-love. So that's all I got.